Hello everyone, welcome to a new tutorial of Pro Audio Loft. I'm Larry, head engineer at Bigfoot Studios, based in Rome, right in front of the Vatican, where we provide mixing, mastering, and production services. Now, this is a really important episode for me because I get to show you my mastering process for a track on Hexagon by my longtime clients and friends, Basics. Big shout out to them. It's called Perfect One. Go check it out on Spotify, whatever you got, title, I don't know, YouTube, whatever. Um, and yeah, listen to it and have fun with it. It's a really cool track. I really enjoyed working on this one, and it's nice to dive into some of the concepts that I utilized during this mastering process, the philosophy behind it. Um, I did it analog with my hybrid system. And I recreated almost some of the processes that I do also outside the box, OTB, while doing in the box. So basically, I'll get to have you listen the track from the very beginning, uh, without the master, so you get to have a listen to it and get the vibes going. And then we have a listen to it with the full mastering chain on. So let's go.
Got a glimpse of innocence is turning me on. Every touch you got me feeling like losing my senses again. We could drive around this town for hours all night. We could fall in love for the weekend. Just tell me you'll miss me tomorrow. Ring my phone again. It's you, it's 3 a.m. I think you feel the same, babe. Something in my mind tell me that you are the perfect one. I can't get you out, I will never leave aside my love. I don't want to look around, yeah. I will never let you down, yeah. Something in my mind tell me that you are the perfect one, yeah. Are the perfect one, yeah.
Okay, so you got an idea on how the track sounds, what are the vibes. I really dig the vocals, the melodic stuff, melodic stuff and elements in the track, and it's really uh, nice track to drive your car and then enjoy the sunset or the sunrise, depends. So it's really vibey. So at first, when I first had to master it, I basically had to deal with some of the one of the first steps that I do. Not always, depends on the material that I work on. It's I tend to put a limiter at at the beginning, and start to tweak a little bit of the building resonances um, that might occur during a limiting stage. So um, in this case, I decided to go for a subtractive EQ approach. I took out some of the frequencies, nothing crazy. Not a huge fan of subtractive EQing in mastering, unless it's for a specific purpose. In this case, electronic music, dance music in general, they need to be clean, punchy, tight, and loud to a certain extent. Not in this case. I didn't go that loud, and so I decided to approach the mastering uh, phase by cutting out some of the nastier frequencies that might build up during a limiting stage. I'm gonna show them to you. Some of the rumble. Some resonances in the voice. A little bit of the mids. Some harsh frequencies around 1.4K. A little bit of sort of a de-essing, a notch de-essing on the hats, and a little bit of widening on the sides. Nothing crazy. We're in the 3 dB. We're in the 3 dB metering, so it's really little cuts. The biggest is 1.8 dB, so nothing crazy about it. Then we go to the second stage, which is the Ozone 9 dynamics. I don't always use multiband compression, but in electronic music, I find it that it's a good, it's not good practice, but sometimes it's necessary to shape the sort of sonic landscape within the track. It's nice because I get to control the bass and the sub low frequencies, and it's nice to control them, massage them, keep them tight, get the bass punchy, tight, and open the top, so you get all the details from the reverbs and the drums and the transients in the top end, which is this track is mostly about that. So it's about vocals, it's about the punchy drums and the punchy and melodic synthesizers. So that was my main goal. So I decided to go for a medium attack, medium release, just massage the low end. Really, really, really simple, nothing crazy. 2.0 ratio. So to control them, you see. Here in the mid frequencies, I went a bit harder, sort of between 2.5 and 3, adjusted to taste. Keep the peaks under control, bring the vocal up front, get the transients a bit tighter, and control the mid. So it's basically the heart of the song. It's in those frequencies you get here from 225 hertz to 4K. There's a lot of information there, and we have to respect it and treat it so it can shine through the mix. And while we're listening in a listening environment, whether it's good headphones, good speakers, or even in your car, it's important that those frequencies translate at the best quality as possible. So it's our duty as engineers to really tackle those issues in the best possible way. In this case, I decided to go for a 2.5 gain reduction to make it shine as much as possible, and I'll show it to you. So as you can hear, it's definitely more under control, a bit more in your face. You can see some of these peaks are being shaved off gently because I'm not using a really fast attack. It's really mild. It's hugging the mid range, and it's something I really like. I used to go more for a FabFilter Pro MB for multiband compression. I'm really digging the Ozone dynamics section with the multiband approach. Really love the sound of it. And massaging the top a little bit here. Nothing crazy. 1 dB of gain reduction. To make some of the reverbs and transients in the really high end section of the frequency spectrum to shine a bit more. I'll bypass it and so you can hear the difference.
All the perfect one, yeah.
So you could hear that there were some transients popping out and back in without the multiband compression, but now with the multiband compression we're leveling everything up, make sure that it's more balanced, it's the frequencies are being hugged, and it's more of a linear frequency response of the track. So when it hits the listener, you get to have a more linear listening experience, and you get to listen to the details more. This is an approach that I really like. After that, I went for this is one of my favorite EQs. I love it. I use it many times. I love the low end. It's really clean. There's no color to this. It's really transparent, but it does its job really well. This is something that I would do mostly on my Tegeler Cream. For the low end, I usually go around 60 hertz and boost it to get some of the energy in the low end. Go a bit. I want to hear the more of the balls of the sub frequencies, and so that's the main aim with this EQing approach. Only in the mid section, and then I decided to bring the vocal up front a little bit by boosting 1.5k, half a dB in the middle. It brings the voice right in the middle. It's really a nice trick that I use it a lot, and it's really useful. I'm going to make you judge for it. Listen to the low end. It got way deeper, and it's really nice and pleasant to hear. Since we got rid a little bit of the boominess of the kick, and we got the bass a little bit underneath to shine a bit more, And so when the kick hits and we got that subby low end that goes in the low end, it gets to emerge from during the listening experience. And then we got a little bit of shaving EQ, shaping EQ, sorry. Nothing crazy. I really like the sound of this EQ. I used to use it a lot. It's really clean, but with a vibe, and it's really a great job. And I like to shape frequencies and enhance some of the most sweetest aspects of the frequency, the frequencies of the track. And at the same time, I did a low cut to get rid of all the stuff below 20 hertz, which we don't need. I'll show it to you.
All the perfect one, yeah.
As you could hear, I boosted a lot of the sides. Not a lot. As you can see, it's 0.6 dB, 0.8 dB. But in the sides, you get that really nice sparkle that comes and really cleans your ear while you're listening, and it's really nice because it gives you that sense of depth without being phasey, but it being sweet, because it's a bit of sweetness there. It's really nice, and yeah, that's the main purpose behind this. Next step, it's a little bit of de-essing, nothing crazy, just to tackle a little bit of the hats in this section. It's mostly it's in the mid side. I use the mid approach of this. It's really nice. Yes, sir. I use it quite a lot when I gotta be subtle. Sometimes I use the wise de-esser more when it has to be a bit harder. In this case, I didn't need to, so I just de-essed the mids, the mid. Sorry, the mid signal, not the sides, because I want the sides to be open. And next up is my old friend, the inflator. Got the old version. It's glitchy, but it works. So it's fine. And yeah, it's nice to give it, that mid massage. It brings stuff alive. It's really a really phenomenal plugin. I love it. I'm gonna show you what the impact of it's on the material. The mid and upper mid frequencies get more open, more detailed, crunchier, sweeter, and it's a nice addition to the audio signal. Then I went with the ozone imager. Well, can't take this out. It's I don't know why I had it on. Didn't do anything except for tightening up a little bit of the stereo frequencies and putting them a little bit in the center, not full. Sometimes I like to have a little bit of sub information in the sides, not a lot, of course. It's not the way it should be. So I'm aware of the rules, but sometimes it's nice to have them. It gives you a deeper feeling. But as you can see from the wavefront, from the goniometer here, it's really central. A few stuff going in the sides, so but I wanted to keep it tight in the middle as much as possible, but leave it a little bit in the sides. Furthermore, we got a little bit of clipping. This is sort of a necessary passage in electronic music, in EDM type of stuff. I use it quite often. I'm not a fan of clipping in really dynamic tracks. I tend not to use that, but in this case, I thought it was necessary, and I went for shaving some of the transients with some clipping. Standard clip by SIR Audio Tools, great. So yeah, now that we got it going, we got our transient shaved off with clipping, it's easier to get into the limiters. So here comes the final heavy dynamic stage where we get to raise our perceived loudness over volume of the track and over loudness of the track, RMS, peak, and LUFS. This is what people think it's mostly the mastering, but this is the final stage, and if you work properly until that stage, then it's gonna be easy. If you don't, if the mix is bad, of course, if the mix is bad, you have a bad mix, it's difficult to master it. But At the same time, if the mix hasn't been treated properly in the early stages, and it could be just an EQ. It's not necessarily 1,000 plugins or gear machines. It's the right amount of treatment that needs to be done before it gets to the mixing stage. Sometimes some mixes are just perfect as they are, so there's no need to touch them. Sometimes they need a little bit of more tweaking. Sometimes it's just an EQ or compressor, a vibe plugin, machine, whatever. But you gotta get to this stage at a point where you're happy with what you have. It sounds, proper. It sounds how it should be without a limiter. So the limiter should just sort of raise the volume and respect it. But that's my take on it. There are millions of other views on it, so it's not a golden rule. Just my views. I used the dynamic section of the FGX, the level section. I use the low punch to have a little bit of expansion on the low end. I really like it. Sometimes I use it also on the detail for the higher top frequencies. In this case, I didn't need to. I used a little bit of dynamic perception, which is psychoacoustic effect that it's used on this unit, which basically reduces the dynamic range and enhances the perceived loudness of the track, so you can make it louder without feeling too squashed. It's really nice and tricky, let's say, psychoacoustic effect utilized in this unit. I really dig it, and this is how it sounds with and without it. So we got a little bit of more detail, the RMS a little bit increased. And now this is one of my go-to tricks sometimes when I want to regain some of the, especially with electronic music where you have that V-shaped sort of frequency spectrum. I like to have a little bit of mid frequency bump with this trick with the L2 by waves. It's really nice to just play between 1 and 1.5 dB. No gain reduction in this case, just adding colored gain to the signal. So it's important to know how to use your tools. It's fortunately in the digital realm, also in the hybrid realm, we get to have access to an array of tools which is incredibly versatile. You can use them on multiple occasions with different results. It's really nice. But you gotta know your tools. I know that the L2 Ultra Maximizer is not the best limiter for gain reduction, so I just use it for the color. So a sort of a color machine, a color gain machine, if we want to use this term. Then I just go through serial limiting, which nothing crazy about it, just standard FabFilter Pro L2. The first one I tend to not to use a true peak limiter, and then I go through a true peak limiter as a final stage with the 0.3 output, minus 0.3 output on the meter to avoid intersample peaking, and this is the final result with the two limiters on and off. So as you could see, the integrated lofts, which is one of the main aspects that we see when we're mastering a track, is I tend to keep it in line with the punch, the transients, the feeling of the track. I don't usually go by numbers. Sometimes I'm obliged to. I would be a liar if I never did super loud masters because clients asked for it, and it's totally legit to say that it happens, especially in the EDM slash tech house slash techno world, where the binary mixers don't have a limiter in it most of the time. They don't have a normalization process, so the loudest track really stands out in the club. Although PA systems have limiters, but there's a sort of a, especially in the perceived loudness, that's where the war it's still going on. But fortunately, this being a radio track, I was not forced into going into those deep waters, where you lose punch, you lose detail, you lose musicality from the source. And it's nice that everybody was happy with a sort of not so loud master. It is commercially loud enough, but it's not EDM loud, if we want to say it that way, and or Metallica loud, depends on how you see it. And yeah, I aimed for 9/8.8 LUFS. I thought it was a great compromise between loudness and detail, and I was really happy with the result. So if you need anything, you got the socials in the links, and let me know what you think. I salute you. Ciao.
Got a glimpse of innocence is turning me on. When we touch, you got me feeling like losing my senses again. We could drive around this town for hours all night. We could fall in love for the weekend. Just tell me you'll miss me tomorrow. Ring my phone again. It's you. It's 3 a.m. I think you feel the same. You feel the same, babe. Something in my mind tell me that you are the perfect one. I can't get you out.